Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 118.
Did you notice kind of how cheesy my intro was?
Yeah, I was like,
welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast.
Yeah, I just was too focused on making sure I said 118 because I wrote on the notes 117.
Oh, man.
But it's all good.
Hey, you got to write on the podcast. You might have been wrong in your preparation, but in the delivery, you were correct, which I think is more important.
Which was what matters. And
and nobody even is going to know that you wrote it wrong unless...
That is true. But I already confessed. Now, here's what's interesting. This is like our third update episode in 3 weeks because we had an update, then we had a live update. Now we're having another update. But there's so much to talk about.
We should just do like 2 updates a week.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. You know, Mike and I have talked about, wouldn't it be sweet if we could drop a podcast a day? Not on the weekends, but Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Like, because we got to go garage sales on Saturday and we have family stuff too.
We got to work.
You have to work. I have to work too.
No, I'm saying like on the weekends, we got to work.
Yeah, we got to work. No, it's true. Saturday is my busiest day.
Which is when we always record too.
I know. It's a crazy day. It's like a full day.
Yeah. I think I'm going on like, I don't know what, 14 or 15 hours right now.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. But it's all good because we love our listeners. We love the update episode and we just want to share how things have been going. So talk to me. How have things been?
So we're potty training my son right now.
It's not reselling related.
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. Connected somehow.
All right. So we put our store on.
Do you understand how you just started our podcast? I'm potty training my son.
It's like a big deal. You know what?
Okay.
I guarantee you.
It's a challenge. Don't get me wrong. It is brutal. Those of you that parents out there, I empathize with everyone.
We've got so many listeners,
especially when it's a boy.
I'm certain that are like, yes, that going through it now, or we're about to go through it, or have
10 years from now, we might be going through it.
Yeah, you know what? So like, people are going to resonate with it, and beyond just that, this does relate because my wife is the one that handles like all of the shipping. Unless it's like a really big item or something like that. She's really good at doing the shipping, which I love because it's like my least favorite part. Favorite part of sourcing, which I think is most people's. I don't know how I got so lucky, but my wife, she likes sourcing, but she also really likes shipping, so she has no problem doing it. I don't know if it's like she really likes it, like she doesn't like wake up in the morning and go like, I hope I get to ship today. But I think she doesn't mind it. Whereas I'm like, I have
Who does? Who gets up and goes, I can't wait to start shipping now? Well, no, maybe if you're making money, but
well, yeah, exactly. But I think she doesn't despise it like a lot of people do.
Okay,
right?
I get it. All right.
So, but anyways, so she's on potty training duty. Like I said, duty. This is going down fast.
This is gonna cause us. We're growing actually as a podcast now. I don't know anymore.
We just lost. No, I mean it's everybody gets it. We have all been there. So anyways, so shipping is not like something she can really focus on right now. So like normally it's like things sell. She can like bring my son to the office, get some stuff shipped, or like drop her off at her mom's house and get some stuff done. But right now it's like, in our house, priority is like, we've got to teach him this skill that's going to last him the rest of his life. And we've got to teach it to him fast. And so like for the next, I mean, we're at the tail end. I'm actually like, I'd say like today's probably our last day of like, we've only did like 2 days and he's pretty much caught on to it. We've actually went out today. We went to like a park and some other places and he was doing fine.
And all the parents, it took years. I'm with you.
I mean, no.
So not everybody can be as perfect as Mike's child.
No, I'm not saying he's like through the night. Like he's like still, like he's not like waking up in the middle of the night.
Your son's going to love that you have this recorded on a podcast and on YouTube that will be there forever.
I know, right? Like this is documented. It's part of his history now. But anyways, all of that to say, we've put our store on 3-day shipping. 3-day handling.
Because of potty training?
Because of potty training.
Wow, that's a new one for me.
But I think that's one of the nice things about reselling that I think like, okay, we can get focused on how do I scale? How do I make more money? But sometimes you're at a place where you're like, I'm doing fine. Things are going well. How do I adjust my business so that I can make it work for my life in this current season? And we were in a very short, like 2 to 3 days. Our life's going to look a little different. Let's adjust work to meet it. And what other jobs can you do that? Like very few other jobs can be like, we're doing this thing right now, so I'm going to change my responsibilities at work for the next couple of days. Like you usually can't do that. Like maybe you get like a week or 2 off sick time and you might like, I'm got to take some sick time or personal time to do this thing. But we can just be like, no, we're still making money. Our sales are still coming in, but we just got a little bit more time. Maybe we've lost a couple of sales, but like, oh well, right? Like, so that's one of the beauties of reselling. So that's kind of like, it's just that reminder of like, having that freedom, that flexibility isn't always just like, how do I make more money? How can I scale more? But like, one of the benefits is I can make reselling work to my life instead of just changing my life to increase reselling.
You know, that's a great point. I wanted to say two things. One thing real quick. So we have a lot of new listeners and they probably have no context as to why you had to change shipping to 3 days because of the body training. Like in the sense that to do shipping, it's not like they just go to the next room. Like your wife can go to the next room, pick it, get the item and pack it right there. Right. You have to literally go to a different location.
Yeah. So, and it's kind of funny because we're like actually relatively small time resellers, right? We're not like have this big warehouse or anything, but yeah, we're like 10, 15 minutes away from our office where we have all of our stuff stored and where we do all of our shipments and stuff like that. So, and then there is a place locally that will ship like UPS and post office and stuff, but sometimes it's depending on the time of day or the day of the week.
Reliable.
It's not always, and it's not just that it's not reliable, but like sometimes things are, you know how.
Well, the times like they're not open when they need to be.
Right. And so we, you know, we have to travel. We have to like kind of plan out our day. So it's like, okay, like we go to the office, we get work done, we go home, and it's not an easy like back and forth. It's a 20-minute round trip. Right. So it's like once a day we're going to go do shipment, right? Like unless we have to like, okay, we have this emergency thing we have to do. So, so once we moved from our house, because when we lived in the condo, we had everything in our garage, which was nice. But let me just say, like, I think there's a benefit to having a split between where you live and where you work. Yeah, now there's pros and cons to both. It's not like one is like the winner and the other one is the loser. The benefit of having it right there is like any time of the day, it's like I've got free time. I'm going to go take some pictures. I'm going to go list some stuff. You know what I mean? So you had that flexibility. The downside was sometimes it's hard to separate like work and family time or work and home time, right? Whereas now it's like when I go to work, I get in my car, and we're doing shipping or taking pictures. We drive to where we're going. And then it's like uninterrupted time. We're here. We get done what we need to do. And it's not like, oh, let's do some laundry and let's cook dinner. And let's like, there's not those distractions. So, you know, there's pros and cons to both, but you know, the way we have it set up right now has been pretty beneficial. And so 3-day handling time, we're still making money. And we were able to adjust reselling to help potty train my son. So in some ways I could say like eBay played a role in the potty training of my child.
There you go.
Hey, maybe we should send that to eBay. Like they could use that as advertisement.
Great commercial. Change your life. No, but it's true.
Not diapers. Change your life. Not diapers.
Okay.
Mic drop.
There you go. No pun intended. So I would say the ultimate reason that I'm a full-time reseller is the time freedom. Mm-hmm. The fact that I can adjust at any time. You know, at the time of this right now, if you're listening to this podcast and it's Wednesday morning, Orlando will be at the Super Bowl parade in San Francisco after the 49ers have won the Super Bowl.
Whoa. So
I can do that and not have to worry about my 9 to 5 or have to ask anybody. Like I can just get tickets and I can go. And guess what? I'm going to source while I'm here. So whatever, you know, when this podcast drops. So it's beautiful because back in the day, like leaving San Diego randomly to go to a trip to San Francisco to hang out with people and go to the Super Bowl parade would have been unheard of. Mm-hmm. Right? Maybe to go leave and watch the Super Bowl like live, but to go to just a parade, just to celebrate, like that would have been unheard of. And I can do it now. So yes, money is nice, but to me, the time freedom is a lot better.
Yeah, it's huge. And so that's just one of those things like it's always hard because you don't know who's listening on the other end, right? Like whoever you are out there, we don't know, right? Like you've got your own story, your own life, your own circumstances. And so sometimes it's easy, especially when you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube, you're watching and listening to people talk about reselling, and to get like focused, like there's a right way of doing it. And we try and talk all the time, like you've got to find what works for you. And that might change as circumstances in your life change. But think of reselling in that way. Like, how is it going to be able to provide you freedom? And it's not like that freedom comes at just like easy, like you don't have to do anything to have that freedom. Like we work really, really hard to have that freedom, but it's one of the things that reselling can offer you. So if you're like on the fence, if you're like, you know what, I don't know if like reselling is a lot of work and I don't know if I really want to scale. Well, maybe scaling isn't what you want to do. Like maybe you're fine where you're at and you could just find ways to maybe optimize and then use the time freedom. Or maybe you're like, you know what, all I've got right now is time. How do I turn that into money?
To hear sometimes that scaling isn't the way.
Mm.
Because if you're on social media, like if you're not scaling, you're failing.
Mm.
It's another shirt for all the ballers out there.
Yeah.
If you're not scaling, you're failing.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's you watch this and you're like, why don't I have, whatever K a month on eBay or whatever K a month on Amazon? I must be doing something wrong. But the reality is, if you're enjoying life and you have that time freedom and it's allowed you to do things, it's okay.
Mm.
Like I'm not saying you need to change the equation, and we're very big on the podcast about that.
Mm.
I think we do get in our like empire like episodes, right? But when it comes down to it, nah, I love empire, but if it's gonna come at the cost of my time freedom, like I don't want it.
Yeah, that's good. What about you? What's new with you?
A lot.
Are you building your empire?
I am building my empire. There's a lot going on. So going back to garage sales, which is kind of weird that I can say I haven't gone to garage sales. Well, I did go last update. I shared that I went to one, but to go again, like that was interesting because that was 2 weeks in a row and it's been a long time and it was better this last time around. So, I sourced some interesting items, some signage and so on. But the thing I wanted to talk about was I sent in my last retail arbitrage shipment for 3 months. And it felt kind of weird because, when I went full time, I was 70% Amazon or 60%. I can't remember what my exact percentage was, and 30% eBay.
You're on the process of switching that. How's that going?
Well, I've tried to switch, but now I'm forcing the switch. And, I can't tell you how it's going because at the time we were recording it, it's only day one. And day one was, I didn't list anything. But here's the thing with eBay. Like, I know.
Off to a good start there.
Well, no, but you always hear people, and I agree. Like you have to list consistently. And I would say if you could list 25 a day, like some of the big time, eBayers out there, there's some that do over 100 a day. Like you can make things happen. Like as long as you're sourcing the right items, you will make things happen.
I got a question for you along that line. Like I don't mean to derail you here, but I bought, and I might mention it in a random store, I don't know. But I bought a bunch of items that maybe I could lot together. I could sell them individually. There's like 20 some of them, but I'd only make a couple dollars each. Is it worth it, even just for algorithms, since to list each one? They're separate items that are like in a series, like it's disc 1, disc 2, but they're different boxes. Would it be worth like listing those as separate items if I've got the available inventory, like our listing, like it's not going to cost me anything. I have the openings there just to be triggering algorithms, like have 20 listings instead of 1, even though, the profit's not that great per item. Like, is that worth it? Do people do that, or is that kind of a waste?
So how much profit are you going to make if you lot it? Is it going to be a lot more?
I would say it's probably pretty comparable.
So
and it's not a lot. Like I'm talking like if I lotted it all together, my net profit's probably like $25, $30. If I sell them individually, my total net profit's probably only like $25, $30. So it's not like this is a life-changing thing, but I'm thinking since this isn't a big profit anyways, is it worth getting 20 listings in just to trigger some algorithm?
So it's weird because I've changed the way I do things. So I would say a year and a half ago, I would say lot them all and try to sell them. Now I would say don't lot them unless you already have a lot of lower end items. I'm really changing. Like I like having lower end items because it does trigger the algorithm. It gives you that sale that triggers other sales. Now, some of you might disagree. I find that to be true in my circumstance. And what I do with those items, they're fixed price. They're not even best offer. They're fixed price. They're at a competitive price, and I just want to sell them through. Right? And because the money I make by triggering those sales is definitely worth me maybe losing that dollar or whatever because I have it lower than I normally would. Right? So that's kind of where I see that. I don't know. That's kind of how I do things because I've mentioned this before. I've moved more things to buy it now. And I find success. And I find that when you do buy it, and when I mean buy it now, that means with no best offer, that when you do a send offer on an item that has no best offer, it sells better when you do send the offer because they have no ability to negotiate. But when you send the offer, there's an ability to negotiate, but it's in your control. That makes sense?
It does. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just that like, had there been a best offer, somebody would have just offered you the amount. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I'm doing it for 2 reasons. One, I'm doing it for the fact of like, this is the dollar amount I want. The other one is I'm tired of unpaid items, right? And so it's eliminated some of that. Like right now, I have 6 unpaid items again, and it's because I've fallen away from big thrift. See, I said it right. Her philosophy of like, adjusting the price, and just because I got lazy, right? And if you want to know what I'm talking about is, so Allinson, who's big thrift, I hope I said that right, had shared with us that, when somebody sends you a best offer, a way you can avoid not getting paid, and this is if you're not in management. Oh, this isn't anything. Avoid not getting paid is by messaging them with a counter offer, or declining the offer and messaging them in that decline and saying, hey, I'll adjust the price in the listing. You're welcome to buy it. And then if they buy it, they have to pay because there's no best offer on the table. Right? Okay. So I hope I answered your question. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So here's the thing with so I sent in my last RA shipment, and it's kind of weird because I'm in an inventory lab. I paid, it was Nike, like friend and family discount. So I bought a bunch of stuff for, I think I paid like $730, and then I'm going to net profit $1,200. So I'm like, oh, that's good. I'm like, I really want to let this go. But then I looked and I have these boxes of Amazon inventory. Some of them returned that I've lost money on. Some of it is stuff that I pulled from the warehouse because I got tired of it not selling. And, Amazon takes care of your stuff unless you're not selling it with them anymore. And then when they return it to you, it is trashed. Amazon, if you're listening, Jeff Bezos, if you're listening, like, I know you don't care about us. I get that. But man, why does my inventory have to be trash? And then to do the follow-up and to file a claim, like, you imagine doing that on several hundred items? And so I looked at that, and then I remembered that, what it tells me on Inventory Lab isn't the profit I'm necessarily going to make by the time it gets to the warehouse and it sells. It could be a lot more, but most of the time, I would say it's probably a 20-30% dip by the time it sells, right? And so I'm like, yeah, I'm glad to do this experiment. Now, some people have DM'd me. They're like, Orlando, why are you stopping retail arbitrage? Because, I do a lot of retail arbitrage. And so I want to clarify a few things. Number one, my account is not suspended. I'm 100% good. My health is perfect right now. Even with that.
Glad your health is good.
My health is okay.
Good.
All right, good. It's okay. It's getting better. The other thing is, it's not because, I'm not in any kind of Amazon trouble. Like, because I know first thing people go to is like, did Orlando get suspended, or, did he lose a lot of money? No, everything was good. Q4 was good. It's just, I want to see this happen. I want to do 3 months of hardcore Q4 eBay kind of hustle and see what I get. And if things go really well, I don't know. We'll see what happens after that. But here's the thing. Non-RA life is so much more relaxing. I can't even tell you, like, it's only been a day, but I already was starting this process like for a week and just getting up and going, I'm just going to list today and I'm going to pack today. I'm not going to go to 5 RA stores. I'm not going to order OA. I don't have to do warehouse work. Like, that was kind of nice.
Yeah, I think that's something my wife and I have talked about. And I don't know if it's right, and maybe we'll do it during Q4, like you mentioned on a couple episodes ago.
Like, it's not going away for Q4 for me.
No, yeah, but I don't think if we do Amazon, I don't think we could do it or would want to do it the way you do it. I think
maybe because I'm doing it wrong.
I don't know if it's because you're doing it wrong. It's just, it's a lot of work, and you're clearly getting success. You're making money doing it, but it's like, it's one thing I think people need to realize. Like, if you're willing to like work, like bust your butt and work, like the money is there, but it's like, can you get kind of some similar money without quite as much work? Maybe not as much money, but you're still doing pretty good, but like less work. So the comparable, it's like the same by doing eBay, which is the big, question you're trying to answer, or even just how enjoyable it is. Like, maybe it's enjoyable when you're like on the hunt for certain items and you're finding it, but like, there's something about the treasure hunt of garage sales and thrift stores and even making contacts and doing bulk buys and Facebook Marketplace and all those things. Like there's this like treasure hunt aspect to it, which I just feel like you don't get when you're doing the retail arbitrage. And maybe it's there and I'm not doing it, so I don't know, but it just sounds kind of miserable. A little bit.
Yeah, no. That's why I'm taking this break. Just because, and I know a lot of people will say, well, Orlando, you should use a prep center or you should do online arbitrage. But even then, that's, to me, that feels like you're in an office in a cubicle and you're staring at a screen all day. Like to me, and I could be wrong, but I don't see how that's any different.
I mean,
right?
It is though. It is different if you're still your own.
But it's
boss.
even lonelier. Like at least when I'm in a cubicle in an office, like there's my coworkers.
Yeah, but how many times you talk about just not even just the freedom of time, but like freedom of you're not working for somebody else. So like you could still have that, and like if you're like, you know what, I'm the kind of person who's going to work 80 hours a week, and it might be monotonous work, and like I'm okay with that because I'm going to make a ton of money. Like I think retail arbitrage and Amazon FBA sounds great. Like so that we probably have many of our listeners like that's their life and that's how they do it. And they're probably making 10 times the amount of money that I'll ever make.
I agree. And I'm not trying to diss anybody that does it. I just know for myself, like the worst job I think I ever had was when I went to work for JCPenney and I wanted to be a loss prevention person to catch shoplifters because I just loved the adrenaline rush and I was young and, you know, I didn't care if people pulled guns on me, even though I wasn't a cop. It was kind of weird, but they made me work in a warehouse for a month before. I don't know why. It was kind of weird. They're like, well, we can hire you to work in the warehouse and then we'll promote you. That warehouse life was miserable, like packing. And I was doing the JCPenney online catalog. Like I had to get shipments together and I had to pack. I mean, it was FBA, but in a warehouse. And maybe that's why. Maybe because I have that background story. Maybe that's why this stuff kind of, you know, because even though I made a great amount of money, it doesn't feel the same as if, you know, when, you know, the other day when I sold a coffee grinder and I made it like I was like, hey, I found this item, I listed it, I made a good amount of money and I instantly got paid. Like that felt nice, right? Hey, I sold 40 toys at an overpriced, you know, price to a family. And then that family decided that they wanted to, half of those families decided to return them because they found that it was cheaper. Like, I don't know. And again, I'm talking about RA. So just my experience. Don't come at me. I'm not trying to cause drama. I'm just saying. All right. And taxes. This is the other thing. So my tax person retired and I didn't know that until I was ghosted. But her, but there's a new tax person in my life. And so
farewell, old tax person. I hope your life is good in your retirement. So you found somebody else? Yeah.
And I'm kind of concerned because you know, it's not like training because I've shared with people. So some people go, you know, and I love Mark Toe. Like he's awesome. And if you use his services, you know, all I hear is great things. But what I'll say is that, you know, and Mark answered this question for us on the interview is that e-commerce and regular brick and mortar taxes are kind of the same, right? You're dealing with inventory, you're dealing with overhead. It's just a little different overhead. So I'm not super concerned. I like the ebb and flow I had with my other tax person because they understood. Like they actually started understanding. You know, the first questions are like, "What is Amazon FBA?" Like, wait, why do you have these fees over here? Wait, help me understand why Merchant Fulfilled had less than fees than Amazon fees. You know, like all that terminology and where to get the reports and all that. So that's where I mean, there's an advantage to having. I hope I'm saying his name right, Mark Toe in your life to be your tax person, right? Because you don't have to retrain someone else. So anyways, but you know, I'm excited about the eBay focus. And here's the other thing. So now that I'm, you know, doing all eBay, so I've organized my inventory. I thought I was organized until.
Oh, you thought wrong.
Oh, I thought really wrong. So I go into.
I can tell just by knowing you.
Thanks.
Just kidding.
Appreciate that.
You're a mostly organized person.
I just need somebody in my life to help me get organized. So, anyways, I go in my storage unit, and you know, I'm like, wait, why do I have what is this listed? I go, nope, this isn't listed. How about this? Wait, this isn't listed either. I find a random pair of sandals by a toe. I'm like, what is this? Why is this here? Like things I didn't think about because I was so busy with Amazon. And so it's kind of weird. I had local stuff that I forgot that I had listed locally. I just ended up donating it just because if it was listed on eBay, you know my thoughts. List it and forget it. Like I'll keep stuff on eBay. I just sold a Hello Kitty shirt that I've had listed for 7 years. Probably made 30 cents profit. But you know what? It sold. Okay,
man, money's money.
even the 30 cents. But local stuff, there's some just local buys that were big and bulky. And I'm like, this needs to go. So I had to spend so much time reorganizing again, but it was good. And then I had to ask myself, like, why do I have this price point on these items? So focusing on eBay has definitely helped me improve, my eBay store and my listings and so on. So I'm thankful for that. So that is kind of my update. Have you been doing any FB marketplace sourcing? Like you talked last time, did you do any more of that?
Oh, Facebook Marketplace?
Yeah.
I'm the niche that I'm currently like in, and I'm sure I'm gonna expand a few more and it'll make things move faster, but it's kind of slow. There's only a few things each week listed, and of those few, like most of them aren't in like a profitable price range.
Okay.
So I'm finding it's only once every couple of weeks that I'm finding something like, okay, there's a win.
Okay.
There's a win. So it's slow, and I've got a couple niches like that. So I would say probably, it's about every couple of weeks that I find like one or two that it's like, all right, I'm going to make some profit. But the nice thing is it's pretty decent profit for not a ton of work. So I just do this search like once a day, maybe a couple times a day. It takes me 30 seconds, right? Because I just open up really quick, do the search. Nope, nothing new. Done. Right. But if there's a couple new things, and that's the nice thing too about having like a niche like this, is I'm not scrolling through hundreds of new listings every day.
Yeah.
Right. So that's been beneficial. And so I think maybe I'm going to try and over the next few weeks, learn a new one or two, right? Like, okay, let's see if I can break into something else. But the hard part is, like I said, it's taken a couple of years before I've gotten to the place where I found one that's not so oversaturated, right? It's like, there's enough wiggle room there. So like, I don't know, what's another one I can jump into that's not already overpriced or oversaturated with resellers or people, you know what I mean? So it's tough. I think Facebook Marketplace is great. But it, like anything like that, you've got to be looking for the right things. Sometimes you got to be at the right place, at the right time. And it depends on what you're willing to sell. I mean, if I was willing to go local to local, I'd probably make more. Like if I was willing to buy big items, like if I was willing to like pick up refrigerators and
oh yeah, no, there's
you know what I mean?
That make a killing doing that. Yeah.
So like if I was willing to do that stuff, like pick up couches and buy like bigger pieces of furniture or items that I wouldn't want to ship, I'd probably do better. Facebook.
There's some people that will like they'll see it and they'll buy it, but like they'll list it before they buy it. Isn't that crazy?
It makes sense.
So it's kind of like,
it's like drop shipping, but not.
Yeah, it's like houses when they do wholesale. You know what I'm talking about? Like they'll find a house, they'll find a buyer for the house, and then they'll charge like 10 grand more than what they were going to buy the house for. And so they're just like there's the middleman. And that's how they make their 10,000 on top of it. I'm probably butchering the way it works.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but I'm sure that's...
No, it's like I approach you and there's a house, right? So you're selling your house for 50, right? So I'm like, okay, I'll buy your house for 50. Then I find somebody else that's looking for a house. I'm like, hey, I have this house to sell for 60. They pony up the money. I don't have to use any of my money. And then they buy the house, so you keep the 10 grand. That's the very basics of it.
Maybe that works like that. I just don't understand how escrow and like...
I don't know. I don't know any of that. I'm just saying that's how that's the very basics. And, anyways, wait, that's a whole nother world. Why are we talking about something we don't know about? We're just getting moving. All right, that's my fault. Okay, any random stories?
I don't know so much about random, but like today I went to, for the first time actually since reselling, which is weird. Maybe it's not weird, but I went to a swap meet. And where I grew up, I went to
Mike. Let's so Mike was big on thrift stores. Mike is doing online arbitrage. He's going to Facebook Marketplace. Now he went to a swap meet.
Is that like a big step up or a step?
No, you're diversifying your sourcing.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. So like I loved the swap meet as like a kid all the way up through like probably later ages of high school. Like if I could go to the swap meet like every weekend, I would have. Like really? I loved the swap meet.
Man, swap meet was worse than the thrift store for me growing up.
I loved the swap meet. Like we didn't get to go very much, but there was one pretty close to my house. And so it was like, I'd beg my parents to go. And then once I started driving and it was only like 50 cents or $1 to get in or something, I think it was pretty cheap. And so like I would go probably every weekend once I was in high school just to walk around and see what was for sale. And sometimes I'd buy stuff. Swap meets have changed though. Cause like, there's all these rules about what they can sell there and not.
I mean, they can't sell new items at certain swap meets.
Really? I didn't know that. But like the swap meet I would go to, they'd have animals for sale, right? Like pets. Like I don't see that anymore. So like things have definitely changed since I used to go to swap meets. But like, it was weird to go back to a swap meet, but I did it for two reasons. One, I was up really late last night and I was like, okay, garage sales aren't going to happen. I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. And so probably even went to the swap meet too late because people start packing up really early. It's so weird. I mean, I know it's hot, but it's like 10:30 and people are packing
It was
up.
like 70 degrees today.
Well, you know, we're San Diego people. That's hot. So, but yeah, so people are packing up and they're leaving. And so I'm like maybe missing some stuff, but I'll tell you, I went for two reasons. One, I wanted to try and source some stuff. Two, I was like, you know what? Would it be worthwhile for me to potentially buy a spot and be a seller at one? How would that work? Should I use it to offload stuff? Like, what would that look like? Especially because Sundays seem to be like a hot day for certain swap meets. Like they actually charge more on Sunday than they do on Saturdays, which I don't quite get. But hey, that would allow me to go garage sales on Saturday and then swap meets on Sunday, which is kind of cool. But man, it's a different world.
A completely different world.
Like it's not like what I remembered it, and I'm sure it's exactly the same as when I was a kid. But like when
at least out here,
yeah.
And it depends what swap meet you go to.
Oh, I'm sure it does. I'm sure like there's some that are different, nicer. They probably all have their own culture, right?
Yeah, I would say I'm gonna use the word jankier.
Some are
jankier, and some are not jankier.
Yeah, classier. But
classy.
Here's the thing, like so. It's its own culture. I guess the only way I could say it, because I'm sure there are people who come, they're just occasional sellers. And then you got your usuals. Then you got people who are almost like, I mean, this is their lifestyle. I mean, we're resellers, so we know like we're our own type of person. We're a little different than the average Joe.
And some resellers are jankier.
Yeah. And so, you know, we're all just different for sure. But like, man, when you go to like the swap meet, it's like, it's its own culture. And when you go and you're just buying stuff for yourself, it's very different than when you're going like looking for stuff to buy. Because I mean, everybody there is trying to make a dollar, right? Like everyone's trying to make some money. And I'd say the places where I did the best were like, you could tell like these are people who just like got a booth for like the day. They wanted to offload some stuff and have a garage sale here kind of, versus you could tell the very clear, like, oh, these people set up every single weekend for sure. Like they're always here. You could tell. But then there's the ones that are always there, but they've got the most random assortment of stuff. Like you have some people who have like literally like they look like a little store. Like they've got all new stuff. They got like some food items. They got cleaning items. They got like in the right like, and it's a store. And some of them have big booths, and some of them are like I can just tell based off of how the interactions are happening here. Like you're here every weekend, but you've got like a garage sales worth of stuff out here, and most of it's just junk. I mean, some people had really nice stuff. Some people it's just like, where are these people getting this stuff, and how are they like? How do people make it work? Like, I'm almost wondering, like, in my mind, this is what I'm seeing happening. And I'm not saying all the people there are some really great vendors, but I'm assuming some of the vendors are probably like getting stuff for either free or almost free. Whether they're like just cleaning up, like at the end of garage sales, like, hey, I'll buy like everything for, sale, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they just pour all the junk out on the floor, and then they're just like making money here and there. But like, it's like $30 to be a seller there. So I'm like, if you're coming every weekend, you've got to be making some money here, but how are you making money on this stuff? Like, I wouldn't pay $1 for anything you have on the floor here.
You wouldn't.
But that's what I mean. So like, there are a lot of people who are going there, but then like the prices on some of these places, they weren't like cheap, which tells me that like people who are, I would imagine shopping for these things, I wouldn't imagine wouldn't want to spend the money on this thing either. But clearly they must be if these people are doing this consistently selling here. Like, I don't know. I just don't understand the culture. That's a different side of reselling that I don't get. And so like, I'm interested to learn more about it because there might be some untapped potential money there.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I mean, I have some reseller friends and they'll source garage sales, but all they do is like, they'll source them all day and they'll just go to the swap meet the next day and they'll just double the price of what they paid at the garage sale. So they do make good money, right? Or I know some people that have estate cleanouts and they'll bring their stuff and they already made money. So if they can sell it for super cheap and offload it, it pays, it's less than going to the dump or having to donate it or having to transport it. You're making the profit on it.
But like some of these people who are cleaning up, they had like literally, I would say 400 or 500 items. Some of them, it's like 30, 50 items on a table, but some of them have like a couple of stalls and it's mostly just junk. And they've had to have spent a long time putting all this stuff out and putting it away. And like, they're doing that every week in the same junk. And eventually they're just hoping it's going to sell. Like, I don't know, like,
see, the people I know that do swap meets, like they try to sell everything they can that day.
I mean, that would make sense.
Like, I don't know. Well, but then again, I only know so many. Like, I don't know. I honestly don't know anyone that's a consistent, like every week they have the same stuff they're selling. Most of the ones I know is they either they're doing that one time, like they don't do swap meet all month, but they have a whole bunch of junk and they need to find a way to offload it. Or B, they go sourcing all day Saturday or Friday or whatever, sometime during the week, and then they offload that stuff for a certain amount, you know? So yeah, but the other part is it's a whole nother culture, because I remember when I used to go consistently to the big one in San Diego, Kobe Swap Meet, like people know each other, people, do trades, so it's definitely, it's a different reselling world. And I think on the other part of the country, on the East Coast, they're called flea markets.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about the same
so
thing.
when we say swap meet, that's what we're talking about. Like you rent a parking space somewhere and sell your stuff.
Yeah, because I've done it before. I've done the swap meet, and I've done rummage sales, which is kind of the same thing out here. Where I had to buy a spot. Actually, at one of the stores that shall not be named, before they built that one, there used to be a place in town where that's where the swap meet happened. And yeah, I remember I would sell stuff, but I had to sell it for cheap. Like, I remember if I tried to sell things for anything that I thought was valuable, I wouldn't get any money for it. So yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, did you find anything?
Honestly, it wasn't as profitable as I'd have liked. If I'd have spent more time at each station and really digging through stuff, but my wife was visiting a friend. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go just for a couple of hours and I'll come pick you up after I'm done. So I probably will make like 40 or $50 net profit. So not a ton.
Okay.
Not great by any means. But at the same time, like, I just want to imagine like anything else where it's like your spouse or somebody's like, hey, drop me off. I'm going to be over here for a couple of hours. Like, go kill some time. Right. Like, I think about how many times that's happened in my life. Like, I'm going to go kill some time. I'm going to go run in and get some food somewhere. I'm going to go walk a Target or whatever. Right. Walk the mall, just kill a couple hours. I killed a couple hours and I made 40 or $50. Right. Like, that's kind of cool. So even though it wasn't like, hey, I just, made a whole bunch of money, it's like, hey, I killed some time and I made money doing it. Okay. Like, that's kind of cool, right? You're saying, okay, like, it's not that big of a deal.
My life my hour is more valuable than 40, $50.
Well, I'm not saying mine's not more valuable than that.
I'm just giving you a hard time. That's all. We're good.
I'm hurt right now.
No, listen, we need to go. Me and you need to go to swap meet together. Like, before the next update episode. Mike's like looking at me. It's like, my schedule, like, there's no way. But I think it'd be cool. Like, we should go to like the big one.
Okay.
And like, see, because I haven't gone. I used to go every Sunday. I remember I would take the kids and we'd go, and I remember my kids hated it. Like, they hated to go. Even now, my son goes like, Dad, you used to take us to the swap meet. I'm like, yeah, it was fun. He's like, no, it wasn't. It was terrible. Right. But I wondered, because it's probably been about 4 years since I've sourced, and I know a lot more now than I did 4 years ago. So I'm wondering if I would see things differently. So, I wonder how you would see things, Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, hey, that was a great experience. All right. So I got to, so this is where reselling pays off, not necessarily in a, profit kind of way, but how we talk about how you still make money as a reseller by buying stuff that you would have to buy anyways, right? Mm-hmm. Now, this was not something I needed, but the Niners are in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And right now I'm at the Super Bowl parade as you're listening to this podcast with a 49ers jacket that I sourced.
Wait. Is the parade is on Wednesday?
Yep.
All right.
So now I already planned on going to go visit friends, but it just ended up falling on the same day. But here's the interesting thing. So I wasn't, I'm still a Niners fan, but Niners haven't been in a Super Bowl in a while. And I've sold all kinds of Niners gear, but, they don't go to Super Bowl or anything. So I'm okay selling everything. Well, it hit me. I'm like, I'm going to SF. I'm going to the parade, but I got no Niner gear. Like, I've sold all my Niner gear, and the stuff I do have in inventory has, either sold by now or it doesn't fit me. So this is where knowledge pays off. So I go to Facebook Marketplace and I look for 49er stuff, and it's selling top dollar, but there's one jacket in there selling for $30, and it's a starter jacket, and it's vintage, and it's nice. And the jacket, the resale value is probably $200 to $250. It's selling for $30. So I jump on it. And it's selling for $40.
You just destroyed someone's niche right now.
Well, here's the thing. I tried to make that my niche the last week. Like, I was trying to source 49er gear. It just there was no money. Like, everybody knows about it, So I get this jacket and I show up and it's like 9:00 at night, right? Because I want to get this jacket because I know somebody else is gonna jump on it. So another guy shows up. I'm like, hey, why do we have this jacket? And he's like, oh, I'm a reseller. And I'm like, okay, do I mention I'm Pure Hustle Podcast? Right. So I did. And the guy's like, whatever, who cares? You guys are nobodies. So so I get the jacket and there's no zipper on it. Like there's a zipper, but the pull tab's gone. And I'm like, hey, was this disclosed in the listing? He's like, oh yeah, it's on there. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, it wasn't. But $30 and the jacket can flip for $250. So I'm like, and then I'm like, I'll pick it. And there was a tear by the hood. Now I knew about the tear by the hood. So I'm thinking to myself, like, this guy is like going to lose money on something that he could have made money on very easily. Like, why didn't he just take the extra step? And again, it's a knowledge game with these items. Like you really have to know things really well to make money when they're damaged, right? It's kind of like electronics. Like you talked about VCRs. Like I'm not going to clean heads on a VCR. Like it's easy, right? To do?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not hard.
Can you get up close to the mic,
yeah.
Mike? Thanks.
I wanted to go for the room.
I just wanted to do that because it's always Mike telling me. So it was a perfect opportunity there for me. So just give me a hard time. So I see this jacket and I'm like, whoa, wait. Sorry. Right now I'm trying to show something on Facebook Marketplace and I see another jacket that I can source. But anyways.
Not if I source it first.
I know, well, I'm trying to pull up the transaction, but so the guy doesn't share like the flaws in it, but I'm still like, I can make money on this. And it's a sweet jacket and I can wear it. So, I tell the guy I'm a reseller too. That's awesome. And, he probably thought he made a deal. I'm thinking, he actually told me, he's like, you're getting this for a steal. And I'm like, I know. But he didn't back off. So I bought the jacket. So I took it to my tailor. My tailor charged me a little bit more than I care to be charged, but that's because I had to expedite this because I bought this.
How much is that?
So she charged me, I know. So we have some listeners that are awesome to me and always told me, hey, if you need anything tailored, let me know and you can ship it and I'll take care of it. I would have gone to you, but I needed this like super fast and shipping and everything wouldn't have worked out. So she charged me $35
that's not bad,
to get the zipper done on it and to sew the hood. And it's nice. Like I'm going to resell. So I don't know if I'm going to resell it because the jacket, it looks legit. Like it takes me back. But here's the thing. I paid $65 for something. And which, if I wasn't a reseller, I would have been stuck and I would have had to pay like $200. Instead, I might buy this jacket. If I like it, I'll keep it for life. If I want to resell, I can flip it and make 200 or so bucks on it. So I'm like, hey, you know what? That's another aspect of reselling that we sometimes talk about, but we don't share as much. It's a sweet jacket too. So I think I texted you about it, but I didn't text you the picture of it. But here's another thing you got to understand, like in reselling, and I get people that DM me this all the time. And we actually talked about this in the last Hustle of the Week where somebody sold a 49ers jacket and then a reseller was trying to upsell it.
Yep.
Right. But
happens. This
guy was happy. He made his cash. He might have paid maybe $2 for this jacket because it was at a garage sale and the person, broken zipper and everything. And they're probably like, I got to get rid of this.
No.
He was like, I got to get rid of this. I can't list this on eBay. I see an opportunity. I take advantage of the unfair advantage to the opportunity. And now it's a win-win for me. So just something to think about.
I like it.
Now, I do want to share an emotional buy that I had.
Yeah.
So I went to our honey hole.
Okay.
Like the honey hole.
Uh-huh.
It's funny because people comment like, we want to know where that is. But it shifts sometimes for us.
Yeah. It's the Goodwill in Santee.
Oops. Whoa, did you just say that store? Oh man, can we censor that? Like, dude. All right. No, that place, man. Anyways. All right. So I go to the store and I see this blanket. Like I see it. And I see this guy with his hands on it. And I'm like, that is a grail item. Like, don't buy it. And I go and, in this place, like only so many people are allowed in a certain section at a time. So I go in there and I see the guy put it down. So I grab it and he's like looking at me. So I put it back down. I'm like, are you not done with it? He's like, I'm not done with it. I'm like, all right, put it back down. Then he asked one of the employees to like hold it up. So he's like taking pictures of it. In my mind, I'm like, is this dude listing this blanket like in the store?
That's a way to rub it in.
Right? So I'm like, what is going on here? So I'm there and I'm like fake looking at stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Like in that corner. So I'm looking at like all these things I would never buy. I'm waiting for the guy to walk away. I'm waiting. And the guy goes, it's a nice blanket, huh? I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Like I'm acting like I don't care about it. But he knows. Like he knows. And eventually, like he's on the phone. He's like, hey, do you think it's worth picking this up? I'm like, oh man, like, dude, you don't know? Like, then just go. Like, don't call people. Just if you don't know, you don't know. Like you have a phone. Like research it, you know? So finally he leaves. And now I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. Like, is this thing on hold or not? So I asked the employees and they're like, oh no, he had to go somewhere, but he didn't ask us to put it on hold. I'm like, all right, I'm buying this right now. So I paid $80 for this Pendleton blanket. Sweet jacket. I mean, not jacket, sorry. Blanket, sorry. Blanket. $80 for this Pendleton blanket. It's bright green. It has like Native American patterns on it. It's pretty awesome. So it's kind of funny because I'm already knowing that I
didn't even know that was a bolo.
Well, they are. I mean, the right kind, like they're money. So notice what I said, the right kind. So I'm all pumped about it. I'm like, yeah, it's a grail item because I've always wanted to get a Pendleton blanket. So I go to my car and I DM College Picker, Eric, you know, because he had, I don't know if you remember, but he has a Pendleton blanket, but he hasn't sold his. And I'm just like, hey, so just wondering, you know, what are your thoughts on this one? Because I couldn't find comps. Like some were selling for like 100, 200, some were selling for 500. And I started getting a feeling already that I made an emotional buy.
Yeah, so the guy who used the phone was actually doing research that you weren't doing.
That's very possible. Like, that's probably 99% possible.
You made this comment where he said, you have a phone, just do the research. Like, he called somebody and asked, like, how much more research can you do?
I'm just laughing because, yeah, I mean, it's emotions got the best of me. What can I tell you? So, I guess it's a beautiful blanket. So, Eric kind of like very nicely goes, you probably at the least double your money on it, right? Which, you know, I can't read through Eric's text, but I'm pretty sure he's like, that was an emotional buy. So here's what's awesome. When you share things on Instagram, one, we've sold some stuff on Instagram. Well, I've sold some stuff on Instagram that I show on the stories. And, you know, no fees, nothing like, and people get what they want. The other thing is people share their information. So somebody right away DMs me and goes, hey, this is what the pattern is on this. Like, that's awesome. Like, I didn't even have to research. So I researched the pattern. I'm like, oh, well, I knew it wasn't vintage, but it really isn't vintage. Like, Overstock.com is selling this same blanket
for $25.
No, here's the beauty of it. So I paid $80. They're selling it for $270 or like $260 something, I think. I don't know. Maybe my number's off. So I'm like, hey, it's almost brand new. I can list it for $200. I'm still going to make money on it. But it was a lesson to me again to, like, even it's a grail item, like, not to get emotional about stuff because
I had a buy like that today too.
Oh, you did?
Not quite that extreme, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm still gonna sell it. I'm gonna aim high and we'll see what happens and I'll report back later. Maybe it'll be a hustle of the week, but I'm not 100% sure.
I doubt it'll be that, but you know, I'm glad you're optimistic.
You never know.
Yeah.
I might be right.
You're probably not.
But anyways, I wanted to share that because there's this strange psychological FOMO moment when somebody has something in their hands that you want. And then when you get it, you're like, who's the guy from the Lord of the Rings? Gollum? Is it Gollum?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, my precious. Like, you don't want to let it go. Like, no matter how much it's damaging you, like, you don't want to let it go.
That's why if you ever are doing a garage sale or you're doing a swap meet stall or flea market or whatever, go in a pair, you and a friend, partner, spouse, whatever, and have one of you act like a customer. And as you see someone looking at stuff, have the other one like, how much is this? Can I create that sense of urgency? But the whole time, you just act like a customer. I wonder what the other stalls would think. Like, what is this? All day long.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway,
I mean, because you could get scammed like that, right? Like
No,
not
you could.
scammed, but like that emotional driven. Because I mean, my brother-in-law.
No, you know what? That's kind of like it's kind of like back in the day with eBay. People used to do shilling. You know what that is? Where people would like. I remember in college, my buddies. We'd be like, "Hey, Rolando, can you bid on this? And I'll bid on this, and you bid on it. And we'll drive the price up.
Bid it up.
It's not the same, but it's kind of the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, my brother-in-law years ago, before I started reselling, he sells a lot of stuff on Craigslist, and I had a motorcycle, like a Ninja, that I had had some damage on it. So I was trying to get rid of it, and it wasn't. I didn't have the time to like list it and deal with people. So he's like, "Hey, just bring it down to my house. I'll list it on Craigslist. I'll sell it right away." Right. So he texted me. He's like, "Hey, will you accept this much?" And it was a pretty good price. Like it was like what I was asking for, like, I don't know, like 6,000 or something like that, 5,000. I don't remember the exact number. He's like, "This guy wants to buy it. Will you take this price?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Anyways, he messaged me back like that night, and he's like, "All right, I got you an extra $800." And I was like, "What? Like, how did you do that? Like, I thought he was buying it at this price." He's like, "Yeah, but when he was on his way, I actually called him and told him somebody else is coming and offered me $400 or $500 more." And he said, "So I just told him like, sorry." And then like he offered the more. And I was like, "What if you would have said no?" He's like, "Well, then I don't know. Like, guess."
But I'm telling you, FOMO is real.
Yeah.
Like it is a tactical advantage. So, all right. So anyways, there, I always like sharing my failures, but it's going to be a win. All right. Are we ready for current topics? Do you have a sound effect for this? Oh, you want to pull up the sound effects?
Yeah, I got to pull it up. I don't have it yet.
Okay. All right. Well,
you go ahead and start your current topics, and then we'll break into it.
Okay.
Maybe not. That's probably a bad idea.
Well, okay. Let's do something light, and then we're gonna get heavy for a little bit here on the podcast.
Ooh.
Late night. It is late. Late night
late.
talks with Pure Hustle Podcast. All right. So, sales taxes. We'll keep it light with sales taxes. So, hey, check check if eBay is collecting taxes for your state, like your sales taxes.
You mean they're not? Oh no, that's breaking news.
What? That was great, Mike.
Thank you. I should have had that queued up. Breaking. Check your sales tax. Money. Government's taking it. Taxes, IRS, it's happening.
All right. So the reason I say that is because I had an interesting discussion. So people had DM me because they know we're in California. And in California, if you have a seller's permit, you have to pay sales tax. And it's super confusing. Like even though I have GoDaddy bookkeeping, like my GoDaddy bookkeeping number that I had collecting in sales tax did not match what the state of California believed I had to pay. Super annoying. Like it was off by like $200 or something. No, it was off by $120. But I paid it because I'd rather pay more than pay less and then come after me. Because I've had that happen before.
You've had them come after you?
Yeah, like send me a bill like, "Oh, you owe this much money still." And it's like, do I really want to battle this? Like, I'm just going to pay it. I know. That's how the government wins. I'm sorry. So, I called the franchise tax board and they basically said, "Hey, this next year, you don't have to enter," because there was an issue with, I was trying to enter certain numbers. And what it was is if I put a decimal point and a number after it doesn't register it. I wish they put that in the directions.
Right. Like
I spent 15 minutes going, why I want this to be accepted. I call them. They're like, "Oh yeah, you need to have a 0 instead of a 2 there." That's all it took. So, but they said, "Hey, next year you won't have to worry about this at all." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, eBay's taking care of it." So it's good that they knew that. And they said, "Hey, actually eBay has been taking care of stuff in California since October 1st. So you're good, this whole next year. And, you don't owe us anything because eBay and Amazon both collecting taxes." And I thought, it's pretty nice. Like, I appreciate that. So just something to think about. Maybe you're not aware, maybe you're like me and you really don't like thinking about taxes. Like, I will tell you, this is one part of reselling that I purposely ignore until I have to pay. And then I get into the details and da-da-da-da. But, look at each state, but it's not California. We've talked about this before, and we said that this was part of the fall seller update. But in case you forgot, like if you're worrying about tracking sales tax and all that, like it's something you don't have to worry about anymore. But it all depends on what state you're in. So, Google eBay remit taxes or something to that effect. That'll take you to a page that will help you out. Okay, let's talk about something serious.
Let's do it.
All right, I want to talk about the morality of reselling.
All right.
Or is there a morality to reselling?
It sounds serious.
Okay. Now, I was kind of timid about sharing this on the podcast because this can get pretty, controversial. It could get pretty tense. We could get canceled, meaning that people will not listen to our podcast anymore.
Should we talk about it? Like, what is...
Yeah, because I want to keep it real. Like, I think it's something that people in the community reached out to us and wanted to know what we thought about it, wanted to know what I thought about it. And it's complicated. And the reason I say that is, you all know, obviously you all know, Kobe Bryant died suddenly in a terrible helicopter crash, along with his daughter Gianna. And I gotta say, Mike, it hit me a lot harder than I anticipated. And I think that what hit me was, and I shared this on Instagram, was, it was around 11 something, and I hear this cha-ching on my phone. And I'm like, oh, sweet, a sale. And I look and I'm like, oh, wow, I sold a Kobe Bryant jersey for full price. And that jersey had been selling, sitting there for a long time. And it wasn't like an Adidas one. It was a Champion one, but it wasn't like one of the ones that sell for a lot of money. And I'm like, awesome, I made a sale. And I'm like, I wonder, like, what's going on? Like, why did this sell, full price? Because usually, like, things begin to sell like that when something happens, right? So I go and I look and I see, Kobe Bryant's face on Instagram. I'm like, hey, maybe he came out of retirement, or maybe he bought a team,
something
or maybe
big, yeah.
something big. And it's because Kobe Bryant died. And that hit me, the sudden shock hit me hard. It hit me hard that as a father, and, he was a husband, and at one time I was one too, and I have kids, and all that just hit me really hard. Like I put myself in those shoes about how terrible that this thing happened. Like, and the fact that he's 41 and I'm 40, and
yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the things that hit like a lot of people is like, one, there's the relatability of like, he's a young guy, right? Like, he's got a lot of life ahead of him. He's very successful. He's done so many great things, and it really causes a lot of people to sit and think like, wow, like anything could happen at any time, right? It's anybody. Like you start to reflect on yourself. You start to, you look at someone's life like this who's gone through this, and you have empathy for the family and think of what they must be going through. You think of, all of the great things he's accomplished in the world of sports and just the world, all the lives he's touched, and it's like, yeah, you think of that and it's sudden and it's shocking. And I don't think it was just you. I think like a lot of people in the world just kind of like they take it something like this, and it, because it's so unexpected, but because it's so, relatable is not the right word, but we can all put ourselves in that position, right? Like it's all like when you hear of somebody older, because that's one thing too, is I remember like growing up as a kid, you'd hear of like actors and actresses, like your parents would be like, oh, so-and-so died. Like they were an actor. They were really big when I was young, right? And you're like, yeah, they've gotten old and it's that time. And we've gone through a few of those, but when it's somebody who's so young with so much life, not only do you feel for him and his family and all of those that are close to him, but like it does cause you to like reflect on where you're at in your own life and just, it's very impactful and powerful for sure.
Yeah, so it was rough. And, understanding that here's a person who was creating another portion of the legacy, besides being a basketball legend and and some would argue maybe the best basketball player of all time, or at least one of the best. There's another legacy that he was establishing after his NBA career, and that was cut short, right? And so it's just brutal. It was tough. And, when I sold that jersey, I struggled with it. And we instantly posted on Instagram that sales don't matter. Like if I could just take back all the sales of jerseys, to have Kobe Bryant back with his family, to have his daughter back, to have all the people that died in that helicopter crash, along with Kobe and Gianna, and I would give it all back to have all that. And so I'm like, sales don't matter. And within hours, there's a huge debate that began to ensue, right, in the reselling community. And to me, it was an important debate because it says that the reselling community has a soul, right? Because, when things like this happen, when tragedies like this happen, unfortunately, there's business opportunities. And I'm not here, and I think Mike and I talked about it before the podcast, because we kind of were like, do we really want to talk about this, right? Because we may say something and people may take it the wrong way. So we want to be super careful because we really don't have an answer. I think it's really it's not a right or wrong, I think, topic. I don't know. Can I ask you, what do you think? Do you think there's a right or wrong here?
No, I mean, like with so many things, it's, and I hate to be the kind of person that's like, oh, it's a gray area, but it's tough because the reality is, one, I'm like a free market kind of person, and just the way things work, supply and demand are always going to regulate prices, right? And so you can't blame the prices and emotions. Like you kind of almost have to separate those things, right? So when this happened, a lot of people wanted to buy his stuff. Do we blame the people who are purchasing stuff? Like you didn't want the jersey, now you do, but like they're doing it because they want to like remember him and support him, right? So there's good motives there. And so the people trying to supply those people with those things. So I don't think most people have a negative intention or like, I'm so glad that this has happened, right? Like I highly doubt there's anybody with that. Now,
I'm sure there are.
I mean, right. But
to be real, I mean, there are evil people in the world, right?
Yeah, I just think it's if you were to probably number the number of people who are probably like literally rejoicing because they were able to make money off of merchandise and not like, hey, I'm really glad that I've been able to make some money. Cause I mean, you don't know other people's situations. Like maybe it's like, hey, I needed to be able to make, ends meet this month and to be able to pay some bills. And like, now I can do that because of these sales that have come through. Just like you, I mean, making that sale on that jersey, you can be happy about income coming in without being happy about the reason that income came.
No, and that's what I wanted to bring about. That it's a tough topic. I go back to one of the few books I read when I was in high school, Les Miserables. Right, and and those of you that have read it, maybe you can resonate or you watched the movie. But Jean Valjean, right, he ends up in prison 19 years, right, because he stole bread, right, to help out his, I believe it was his nephew, right?
I think so.
All right. Anyways, he stole bread for people to eat. Okay. And that's a moral dilemma there, right? Like, should he have gone to prison? He was only trying to help out his family, right? And now this isn't the same. Like, people aren't committing crimes.
Right.
But at the same time, it's funny because LA Times had this article right away about around the Staples Center, people like within hours had t-shirts, rest in peace Kobe t-shirts that they were selling. I don't know if you ever gone to a concert, but there's the concert t-shirts. Yeah. And outside there's the fake concert t-shirts, right? And a lot of people like buying the fake ones because it's the same. So some people would argue explaining the situation. To me, I couldn't do it. Like I could not be out there selling those shirts. But
here's the thing. I agree. Like I think in a lot of ways it's really easy to look at somebody who's, doing that and saying like, wow, they're exploiting this situation. And there are probably many who are that are like that. I don't want to say they are exploiting, but there are those who can do things like that for negative intentions. And we can say like, hey, it stinks that people are making money off of a tragedy. But at the same time, and I'm just playing devil's advocate
That's
here
fine.
because I don't think there's like I said, like this is not a clear answer. Like I'm not saying either way, but like imagine if you were to walk around with a shirt that said rest in peace, Kobe, because you wanted to like show your support for him and his family and you wanted to get together with friends and like you went to some memorial thing for him. Like, would you look at all the people wearing the rest in peace Kobe shirts and say like I can't believe they bought those shirts? Probably not, right? Like you look at those people and say like, wow, like
and that's why it's so complicated.
Exactly. So, but like if somebody wasn't out there selling those shirts, they wouldn't have them, right? Like, so there's that like in between, like at what point is it like, do you point the finger at the people selling it? Or do you say like, they're actually providing a service for people who want to like do this good thing and like support and like, it's so tough. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be people in any situation that are going to have like negative and intentionally cruel like reasons and purposes. But at the same time, I don't know.
Well, the whole thing is tough too, because not only did you have that aspect of it, but you had the other aspect where, it's funny because Nike, like a lot of people were trying to buy Nike stuff and then Nike said, hey, they can't sell it. And then some news outlets were saying, well, Nike decided not to sell the stuff anymore. And a lot of people saw that Nike was taking a stance of not selling because of what happened. Then it comes out that no, it's Nike actually ran out of stuff, right? And so they didn't have any more in stock, right? And so chances that Nike are going to restock soon are probably pretty high,
right?
right? Because there's that. And then, I look at kind of like the LA Times, they're selling a special edition Kobe newspaper. Like it's just weird. The whole thing's weird. And so, one of I would say one of my good reselling friends in the area, like, was selling jerseys, right? And they sold before he ever was before he knew what was going on.
Right.
Right. And he's like, hey, I don't know what to do. And other people were DMing me like, I'm really torn here. Like, I don't know what to do. And so I kind of landed in this place that on this one, you have to like do what on this, like you're comfortable with what feels right to, which sounds kind of weird for me to say that because I'm not very much about that. But in this situation, like, you have a family too, like you said, right? And you're trying to provide for your family. And you don't have any ill intentions. And I would say I have seen some, like I saw something on Instagram. Somebody was trying to sell some Kobe rookie card that was only worth $30 for like $2,500 on OfferUp or whatever. And I thought, no, that's terrible. Like I to me, that was terrible. Right. But there are others that, hey, like 25% of their stuff was Kobe Bryant stuff. Like, they do this full time. Like, they got to make a living. Like, if there's a time to sell, the time is now. Right. And that's the thing. We don't know. Like, are the people that are buying this, did they wake up and go, wait, we want to have something that's a part of history, that's a part of who Kobe was, like, we're willing to pay. Like, I thought about myself. Like, I think about, let's say, I was a Kobe Bryant fan, but I grew up a Warriors fan, right? And so there's, other basketball players like that, I would have been different about if it was a 49er or whatever. Like, I would have gone like, I don't have that jersey. Like, I'm willing to pay $200 to $300 for that jersey because I don't know if I'll ever have an opportunity to get that jersey that was made at that time again.
Right.
Right. So I struggled with that because there's so many unknowns. But what I saw in the reselling community was, was very inspiring to me because resellers get a bad rap about, and it's getting better, but they get a bad rap about, we're all about exploiting and, we're about price gouging and we're about, we don't care. And I mean, you hear that still today. But, I look at, shout out to Glenn Hustler Hacks. He does this episode on Sunday, a live episode, and he talked about like he can't sell his stuff, and he has good stuff. Like, he has all kinds of Kobe rookie cards, he has all kinds of jerseys, he has all kinds of shoes, he has some cool memorabilia, and he's just like, I just can't do it, right? And I thought, yeah, I get it. Like, if I get it, like if somebody was very important and special, and this thing was so devastating, like, yeah, I get it. And then on top of that, on his show, he had people live like talk about what Kobe meant and the stuff that they actually collected. That was Kobe Bryant stuff. And I go, that like, that was very, I don't know, heartwarming or like, it was a good moment. Right. And then there were others that were like, hey, I have this stuff. It's been sitting. I need to provide for my family. The time is now for me to sell this stuff, right? It's such a complicated topic. Now, there's the other side of reselling. I know I'm going on long mic here, so jump in whenever you want. I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about this. People are selling like these virus for like, they're not selling a virus. They're selling the masks because of the coronavirus. And some people are making a killing on it, right? And so, is that exploiting? I don't know. See, because where would people get that item from?
And that's where I usually land. And again, like, I'm not a heartless person. Like, I don't want anybody to come across, like, to think of me like when I say like this, whether it's with the Kobe thing or with the coronavirus, like, hey, like, just make as much money as you want and find ways to like rip people off. Like, that is not me at all. Like, I'm not that person. But like, realistically, like, again, like, that's one I'm a firm believer. And of course, prices fluctuate and there's times when things are wrong. But like, the idea of price gouging is something that doesn't make sense to me because people pay what they're willing to pay for it. Right. And there's, in our day and age, like, if there was only one source, like one store that sold food or one, you know what I mean? And they could charge whatever they want. I could see that maybe as being considered price gouging. But like, even like the example that often gets used, like if there's a hurricane in a community and there's no water there, and then people come in and they start bringing in gallons of water and they're selling gallons of water for $10 a gallon. And people are like, that's crazy. Like they're ripping those people off. But the reality is, and I know that on just the face level, that's what that sounds like, right? Those people are going in and ripping people off of, it's water. They should be giving it for free. But the reality is people in those areas in hurricanes tend to get their needs met quicker by people going in because there's profit than from the aid that comes in from like Red Cross and those things. When that aid gets there, it's great. But honestly, and we all know this in our own life, money motivates. And so because there's people willing to pay $10, people are bringing water in. So now an area that had no water at all of a sudden has an influx of water coming in because people are traveling across state borders to get water into this place because they want to make money. Whereas there was no water. Whereas if you were to say like, no, you can't sell any water. And there's history to prove this. Places have at times said, no, you can't charge more than this for this item that's in need. Nobody comes in with it. And so those people end up don't getting that thing at all. Right. And so like, I think about that with like the coronavirus masks. I mean, I don't actually even know what's going on with people selling the masks, but I can imagine if there's a need for this and people want it, if they're not being given out for free, or people aren't producing them and giving them away as charity, and maybe they are at some point in a month from now, there'll be enough of them freely available to people. But if there wasn't profit, people wouldn't be making them. And if these people weren't making them, people who needed them wouldn't be getting them, right? Like everybody's motivated. Like you say with like the baker doesn't make bread out of the goodness of his heart. He makes it to provide for his family.
No, I get that. Adam Smith voted that, but it's I don't know. It's all a struggle because it's so hard because this whole reselling thing is kind of strange. Like, when Prince died, like no one was outraged that people were like selling Prince stuff for a lot of money, right? Because Prince had lived a full life and maybe he didn't make, I don't know. I'm not going to, say who made a bigger impact, but the impact was different than Kobe's. Right. And so, I think right now they're up for auction is a check for Lee Harvey Oswald at the Texas School Book Depository. And if you don't know who Lee Harvey Oswald was, he was the guy that assassinated and killed John F. Kennedy. And, that's going up. It's supposed to go for thousands. And I'm like, whoa, like this is somebody who killed an individual, killed the president of the United States. And yet, like, is it exploiting or is it not exploiting? It's a tough one. So this is where I land on all this. And I think the hurricane scenario is a whole different scenario.
But the reason I mentioned that was the connection to like coronavirus masks.
No. I get that. No, I get that.
Like nothing to do with Kobe, but like with the explosion, and again, I don't know enough about the situation. Maybe I'm like totally off and there's something going on here that like I don't know about. And there's some people doing really cruel stuff. But like if there is literally like, hey, somebody needs masks for this coronavirus and like I can make them and it's going to cost me a bunch of money to make them. And I'm going to have to like create this plan and set up this machine. And I wasn't planning on making these, but I can make these. But in order to make it worth my time, I'm going to have to be able to make some money off of it. Or I could say, you know what? I don't want to have to charge them the money that would cost for it to be worthwhile. So I'm not going to make the masks.
No. I agree with you on that. No, I agree with that. And I think, they are two different situations, right? But what I want to say is, and when it comes to reselling, whether it's the mask or whether it's Lee Harvey Oswald's check or what it is, I think you have to land in a place where you can, I guess, sleep at night. I would say myself, like it's funny because I thought about it. Like, what if I had 100 Kobe jerseys and I could have sold them for whatever. They're going $300, right? Some people had shoes, some Kobe Bryant shoes on StockX that jumped from $200 to $1,200, right? And, they had bills to pay. Like, that's a tough one. Like, I think you have to figure out on your own what you're able to go to bed and sleep and go, you know what? I honored the family. I'm helping someone, or you know what? This just doesn't feel right and I can't do it. And I would say you got to be careful to judge because you don't know people's stories. There are certain people I know that they were in a slump and business was bad. And, unfortunately, this is how the sales happened. And now their family's doing okay, And so I don't know, but this is what I said. This is going to be complicated. I just wanted to flesh this out and have a discussion for you guys, our listeners, to think about, because ultimately, you know, we're going to be at these crossroads again. Somebody else that we dearly love is going to pass away or is going to suddenly die. And again, the market's going to fluctuate, and we're going to come to this question. But the good in all of this, and I'll repeat this just one last time, is that the reselling community has a soul, and it was great to see people having this discussion and people deciding, hey, I can't do this, or people saying, I can do this, but it has nothing to do with the tragedy that happened. It has to do instead, I have my family too. So just a hard place. Hopefully you'll still continue to listen to us after we had this discussion. Appreciate you all. We just want to be real.
Yeah.
All right. It's really hard to move on from that. So just, you know, prayers to the Bryan family from this point forward. All right. eBay Open is not happening.
We were so wrong in our life. Like, we failed at that. Like, I was like, yeah, this is a pretty safe, like, I'm going to stake, like, you know, my reputation on the fact that there's probably going to be eBay Open. Yeah, we were wrong.
How? Like, how? Like, I love eBay, but to me, of all the times not to have an eBay Open, like, I'm not understanding. Now, I will, let me read what they said about why they're not doing it. I'm just going to read it real quick. I know you hate it when I read stuff. I hate it when I read stuff. But they said, this year marks eBay's 25th anniversary. The next line should have said, in celebration of that, we're discounting costs to eBay Open because we want to make this the biggest celebration ever. But that's not what it says. Instead, it says, as our business has evolved, our focus has too. Our sellers are spread across all corners of the U.S., and in 2020, we're committed to making it easier to connect with each other and with us. Rather than hosting eBay Open and asking you to take time away from your business, which it would take away time no matter what you did. This year, we're hitting the road to meet you in your neighborhoods. We're now providing more ways for sellers to connect with one another and eBay employees. I'm excited to announce a number of new opportunities to just do that. And by the way, this is our friend Alan that wrote this, who interviewed us. So we love you, Alan. This is not a reflection of you at all. Okay. I know this is just eBay's corporate line. Like, this is what eBay agreed upon. So they're doing eBay Upfront, which out of nowhere, they dropped all these dates. Unfortunately, there's no SoCal.
Oh, bummer.
But we're having a Pure Hustle podcast meetup in March.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for the details. It'll be
Reseller Open.
It'll be
brought to you by Pure Hustle Podcast.
SoCal. So be there because we want to make this the biggest reselling event in Southern California. So
how about we just go like the whole West Coast?
Yeah, whole West Coast. Yeah, well, okay, but we're resellers. Like, I don't have the. I wish I could do a circuit tour of the West Coast.
No. I'm not saying we do the whole, but we'll make this the biggest in the West Coast.
Yes, let's do it. West Coast. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. All right. So
where do we draw the line? Like West Coast.
No, this is
just California.
We got peeps in Alaska.
So they're West Coast.
Well, we'll count them as West Coast.
Yeah.
Allison, you're welcome to
Northwest Coast.
You're welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast Open.
Yeah.
All right.
PHP Open.
All right. So they're also doing seller visits. They're doing seller town halls. You know, the guy that, Harry Temkin, I love that guy. So it'll be nice. Hopefully we'll get to see him. I haven't met Jordan Sweetnam, who's I think he's the interim CEO at the moment. Or maybe, no, he's not the interim CEO. That's somebody else. But he's another important guy at eBay.
I see this, I loved eBay Open. Even while I was there, there were things that I saw that was like
PHP.
That's right.
If you're wondering on the podcast what happened, I dropped the cup. That's all.
It's all right. It's all good. I knew there was benefit for eBay, especially marketing wise, the way they were doing things, having different people who are on YouTube and things like that. They're recording stuff. They had a huge. It was great marketing for them. So, but realistically, on the bottom line, it was probably a huge cost because all that was provided there and the cost of the tickets weren't that bad. So they had to have been breaking even at best on that, but it was kind of just marketing opportunity. Whereas their new model, and honestly, conferences like that are still, I kind of look at them as maybe a little old fashioned.
Let me rewind us though to reseller topics from a month ago. eBay sold StubHub for $4 billion that was added to their war chest.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Just saying.
Yeah, but that isn't. But if
saying.
but just because you have more money, like when you do your budget, you don't say like, hey, this thing that we do is like causing us to lose money, but hey, I got a raise, so I'm going to keep doing that thing.
But it's a PR thing. Like, it's marketing.
It is, but if they're spinning this with the eBay up front, which is really what they're doing, I'm not saying they're spinning it in a bad way, but like they're shifting. And I think there's going to be a year or two where there's going to be friction where people loved the eBay Open because there was so many awesome things that happened there that they're just not going to be able to replicate in an upfront. Whereas upfront might be able to provide some things that the eBay Open experience didn't. It's just going to be two different things.
But upfront, like, okay, so let's be real here. Like we do the Pure Hustle podcast meetup in SoCal, right? Chances that we'll meet everybody that we would have met at eBay upfront if we did one in LA are probably pretty high, right? I mean, we didn't have as many people as eBay upfront had at our Pure Hustle podcast meetup last year, but we had a decent number, right? And I anticipate, hopefully, we'll have a bigger number this year.
But the idea, I think, behind eBay upfront is more than just, because I know it's like, hey, meet other sellers, but like there's supposed to be an experience that comes from it, like having eBay employees there, having like getting to hear from a VP, getting to hear. Well, I get it, but
we all know the best experience at eBay Open was the networking.
Well, that's true from an experience wise, but like what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking, and I know Poshmark has a big event too, but I kind of see them like using the Poshmark model of like small Poshmark type parties, this eBay up front.
Notice local. What you said. They still have the big event.
Well, they do, but was it like eBay Open? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a networking. I mean, it was actually more networking. I mean, I haven't gone personally, but I know from others have gone. It's time to mention. So quick, ship quick. It wasn't. They didn't have as many like opportunities as eBay because they're not as big as eBay. But it was a place you got to mingle with people and talk to people. And what I'm gonna miss is, for example, there's a lot of other resellers that we met that we would have never met. This is what I was going back to my point. Like if we did, if we do our Pure Hustle podcast meetup, which we're doing, right? We may have met the same people we would have met at eBay upfront. But if you do eBay Open, like think of, I think of Pro Solo Flipper. I think of Portland Pickers. I think of like, I'm just throwing, Lindy Glenn. I'm thinking of, Mark Meyer. I'm thinking of all these, I'm just throwing random names out there of people that are East Coast or Central or Midwest that we never would have met. And now people that were looking forward to eBay Open aren't going to be able to meet those people. And maybe they already know the people that are local. You know what I mean? And I know eBay's, their goal is to bring eBay to people, right? To do the town halls and and I get that. But, when you still go to teacher convention, what's the best part of the teacher convention?
Yeah, I think teachers convention and eBay Open are two very different things though, because teachers convention is like work.
Yeah, but it's a camaraderie, right? What you walk away with.
Well, no, that's true. But like you go there thinking like, this is a bummer that I have to go do this thing, but at least I get to hang out with people. Whereas eBay Open is like a mini vacation, not just because the people you get to hang out with, which is cool, but because I'm in a hotel in Vegas doing the Vegas thing with a ton of food that's included in my ticket here. There's entertainment, there's parties, there's all this stuff, part of my ticket. It's like going on a cruise, but like focused on eBay. It's like something like that, right? Like, so it's more than just like, hey, you've got to do this thing for work. But hey, the good part is you get to hang out with people. Like eBay Open was more than that. So I think you can't really compare the two exactly like that, because it's true. It's going to be a bummer that we're missing out from that. But that what I would say would be the part that we would say like, hey, yeah, the best part was getting to hang out and meet other people. But the draw isn't that. Like eBay isn't putting on this, like, come to this huge event that we're doing so you can socialize. Like the draw is like that might be an aspect, but we are going to give you workshops. We're going to give you food. We're going to give you entertainment. We're going to give you this. It was a whole lot of things they were doing. I don't know.
I'm telling you, like everything was, think about how many moments they had food in one general area because they wanted people to sit together. Like
that's just a conference though.
Yeah, but that's the strength. Like I just found that as a strength. I just struggle. I thought of all the times like this would be a time. I really will love, and we're nobodies, but I would love it if eBay just reverse course on this one. I really would.
It's not going to happen this year. That's for sure.
I really would. Who knows? I have hope because
it's not going to happen this year.
Who knows?
You're crazy.
I am crazy, but
hey, maybe they'll reverse course and make it free for everybody.
No. But see, that is crazy. Me asking to reverse course. It's only February. There's time, And maybe, you know, they were going to lose money because maybe they already had a contract and they had to get out of the contract. You know, I don't know. To me, it's just I wanted to meet a lot of people that I wouldn't have been able to meet that were on the East Coast, that were in the Midwest, and now, you know, that opportunity isn't there, right? And I don't know. It was energizing. Like, you know, even though like some of the stuff that, you know, was talked about, we're like, you know, like pay per click. We walked out of there, we're like, but man, like having a CEO up front, like being energized and being pumped, and having other eBay people at the keynote talking about this is what we're gonna do, like that was great. Like I loved that. And walking out there, like, yeah, I can't wait to get back home. I can't wait to implement new things. And you know, you go, and I loved eBay up front, but it just wasn't the same energy. Just wasn't the same energy. So anyways, should I end my rant now?
Sure.
Okay. Now, here's a bonus to us, and I feel really bad. Here's another one. So I was really concerned because one of the perks of going to eBay Open was we had eBay Concierge.
Uh-huh.
And the other day, Mary Feel Good Finds on Instagram, she had posted that she was worried that, you know, how do you get concierge if you don't go to eBay Open? Well, she called and they said, well, you're grandfathered in. So I called eBay. I'm like, is that true? And I called them like, hey, I'm really worried. Like, you know, because you only get
Should we be like releasing this? Like, that sounds like pretty intense.
Yeah, well, I want others that are listening to the podcast that went to eBay Open and got concierge to know that like they don't have to stress anymore.
Oh man, except for you might have opened a can of worms because a bunch of people are going to be calling saying, I didn't go, that's not fair. And then eBay might reverse course and say, we're taking away this grandfather concierge because we've had.
Or maybe they'll just do eBay Open.
Oh, gosh.
Or maybe they'll open up concierge to other people.
I'm going to tell you this, like I'm being selfish right now, but if you ruin eBay concierge grandfathered for me because you release this out there, and I'm sorry for all those of you who didn't go and didn't get it, because that's terrible.
But you should have gone too, you know?
No, you can't say that.
I know. That was messed up.
That is not fair.
That was messed up.
There's a lot of reasons people can't go or weren't able to go.
I retract my comment. I asked for forgiveness. That's right.
Yeah. So, but anyways, yeah. Can of worms, man. Can of worms.
Yeah, but anyways, it's a tough one. This is what I mean. Like, just reverse course and just do eBay Open, man. That's all I'm saying. For the people. For the people. I'm all for the people.
But at the same time, it's for the people. But remember when, going back to our negotiation episode last time, you got a faculty meeting and the faculty's pointing at the admin saying, why are you making this decision? No. Well, clearly eBay has thought this through, and maybe this is a mistake, but
how can we make it happen?
There we go. eBay. What is the reasons this isn't happening? Is there anything the sellers can do to help make this happen? That's a better way of putting it, I think. Because we can't accuse them for like making a mistake. I mean, maybe it's a mistake. And listen,
I've been in a position of administration, and I've had to write stuff up and had to package it a certain way and make it, because it was in the best interest overall, and I fully believed it was in best interest, right? And maybe, you know, I don't have the knowledge and the foresight that those that made the decision had, and so I could have it all wrong.
So reverse course if possible. If not, you know.
We still love you, eBay. I'm not.
How can we find ways to get more resellers together and celebrate eBay? That's what we want to do. We want to celebrate eBay. So how can we be a part of making it so that we celebrate you, eBay? I think that was better. You think?
I'm still worried about my comment about concierge. Yeah. Like, I get it why people couldn't go. People had shared that with me. So
I think it's fine. You're good.
I know. I love our listeners, and you know, sometimes you say stupid stuff.
Well, you didn't mean it like.
No, I didn't. But you know, I don't know. We handled the whole morality of reselling really well, and then this is the one where I say something stupid. Like, seriously?
You're fine. I don't think anybody.
All right. I care about you guys. That's all. I just care. And I care about all the people that have DM'd us and said, man, of all the times, like, I wanted to go to eBay Open and now I can't go. Right. And what if it's gone forever? Now we really can't go. Right. Because there's a lot of people that last year were like, I wish I went. And now, anyways. All right. Anyways, check it out. eBay on the road. All right. Let's move on from there. We have no more reseller topics.
Well, that's good, because then that means it's
BOLOs.
Bolo time.
All right. Why don't you go first? I've said too much. Just said too much.
So anyways, Bolo, this one's, I don't know. I'm not even 100% sure how I feel about this one, but I think it might be overlooked, at least in our part of the country. So, and my stats might be wrong. Things might have changed recently, but I heard at one point, so again, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But I heard at one point,
we're apologizing a lot on this episode,
that NASCAR is actually like the most like popular sport in the United States, or one of the most popular.
I've heard that too.
Or at least like advertisement wise, like more money is poured into advertisement in NASCAR than like any other sport, which says something because advertisers pour money where they think like it's going to have the biggest bang. So anyways, all that to say, like in Southern California, NASCAR is like not a thing. And it's really weird because I'm a Jimmy Johnson fan and I'm not even really a sports fan, but I do like NASCAR to an extent. I watch several races a year. And Jimmy Johnson has been my driver for a long time, even before I moved to San Diego. And he's from San Diego, from a little town, El Cajon. I live like right by it. And it's so weird because he's like probably arguably the best NASCAR driver of all time, still to this day. Like, it's just unbelievable how good he is. And like nobody here cares. Like if you think about it, like almost nobody is like people could be really excited because like somebody who went to like a high school that was like
there's a taqueria that cares.
What's that?
There's a taqueria that cares.
No, that's true. I mean, but like, yeah, because Jimmy Johnson does so much for his community too, right? Like he pours tons of money into the El Cajon area. But the reason I say people don't care is because NASCAR is just not big here. And I know there's parts of the country, there's probably some of our listeners that are like, what are you talking about? Like NASCAR is everything, like NASCAR is life, right? But at least for us, it's not, which means that it's often overlooked. For many people, it's like people think basketball, people think football, people think baseball, but people don't think NASCAR, at least a lot of people in our area. So my BOLO, the reason why this is a BOLO is to maybe be thinking about NASCAR like now, like right now. Not now, but like right now, is because we're about ready to have the Daytona 500. And NASCAR is a little weird because the Daytona 500 comes as one of the first races of the year. And it's not really like the championship race, but it's like one of the most famous races. So it's like having the Super Bowl at the start of the season. Like,
so I want to add to your BOLO.
I wasn't even finished.
Oh, sorry. Man, I'm just having a rough episode.
It's all right. I basically was finished. So anyways, I was going to say, now's the time. People are really, if you're a NASCAR fan, people are starting to buy stuff on eBay and you know, because it's like, it's about to start. Things are about, so it's like having the start of the season and the Super Bowl all at the same time. So if you see NASCAR stuff, maybe now's the time to pick it up. Of course, you got to do your research because there's a lot of NASCAR junk out there, but you know, it might be a niche worth looking into.
You said what I was going to say. There is a lot of NASCAR junk out there,
yep.
Like a lot of it. So you have to be really careful. Like I would say NASCAR with anything Snap-on, probably valuable. NASCAR that says Chase on it, you do your research. So good. That's all I wanted to clarify.
Yep. Yeah, of course. It's like anything. I mean, you can't just say like pick up anything like NFL related because yeah, there's going to be off brands. They mass produce a bunch of junk and there's lots of stuff that's not. But yeah, I mean, now's the time where like, I mean, jackets, like NASCAR is really weird too. Cause like they don't have like people wear jerseys, right? Like people wear jerseys for different sports and stuff. NASCAR, it's like jackets. I mean, we had a teacher friend who like would always wear, he was a Jimmy Johnson fan too. And like every year, if he won the championship, if Jimmy Johnson won the championship, there's like a new jacket that's made for like the championship jacket. And so people will buy these really nice jackets that got all the sponsor stuff on it, his number on it and stuff. And they almost look like Letterman jackets kind of. And so like if you can find those types of things, like the higher end NASCAR stuff, that stuff is worth money, especially even like vintage stuff. I mean, my dad was really big into Dale Earnhardt, kind of going back to the Kobe thing. Like I remember the race. My dad was watching the race where Dale Earnhardt was killed. And so that was like a devastating thing for my dad and for a lot of people. And of course, my dad had tons of stuff. And even after that, most of the stuff was still not valuable because they just mass produce a lot of things. But my dad had one of those really nice jackets, right? And I think he still does. And so if you can find those types of vintage NASCAR things, even from old racers or, you know, current people, you know, there's money there.
Oh, there is.
What about you? What's your BOLO?
All right. So I haven't shared this much, but, you know, I came across a nice haul today when we were recording this on a Saturday. But, you know, it's midnight right now.
Oh my gosh.
This is a long episode, but it's okay. We talked about good things.
It's midnight.
All right. Hey, so it's all good though. We love you guys. This is why we do this.
Yeah.
So I picked up a bunch of signs. I don't know if you saw the IG story, but a bunch of signs of stores that no longer exist. So like Robert Talbot, there was a couple other brands, and then I picked up like a Rain Spooner sign, which I thought was kind of cool. Now there was no comps, but in the past, so you always know about old signs, like, hey, pick up an old, gas station sign, or pick up an old, whatever sign, right? You always know about the 50s and the porcelain signs, but you know what? Like 90s kind of store signs are money now. I sold a Guess sign. I paid $1. I flipped it for like $35 really fast. Probably could have made more money. And it was tiny. It literally was like the size of my cup. It wasn't that big. Or I sold, other brands like Cross Colors, or I sold, Guess. I already said Guess. I've sold, like Reebok Pump, or, the other day I saw somebody on Instagram had a Nike SB skateboard sign. Like, you don't think about these signs, but they're valuable because one, it's not something you can just go and buy somewhere, right? Two is some of these stores are shut down. And so number one, it could be something that, somebody that works for a corporation wants, or it could be something that, they have a huge, let's say, Hawaiian shirt collection, and they want like that Rain Spooner signage to like, make their collection look really awesome. Right. So just something to think about, like, don't pass up on these signs, because I went to this estate sale and like no one was touching these signs. It was like the second day. And I'm like, how come no one's touched these? And they're going to sell. Now, some of them are going to sell for more money. I've sold some like bike signs, like, like Trek or whatever, that you just can't buy. You can't go anywhere. And I've sold them, for over $100 at times. I sold a Kenwood speakers lighted sign. I picked it up for $5 at the store that shall not be named, and I flipped it for $125 plus shipping.
Nice.
So, don't just think old signs. Think of what's trendy right now, like what people are wearing or gear. And if you see those signs, there might be somebody that wants to complement their closet, or they have, one of the things I find a lot is car shows. If there's like certain car item signs, like that Kenwood speaker sign, or it could be Snap-on, or it could be, something related, like they may want it as part of their collection. So don't pass on those signs just because they're not old, because now vintage, 90s, 80s, it's cool. So something to think about.
I like it.
All right. What are you looking forward to here?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm looking forward to watching the Daytona 500.
Okay.
No, it's not reselling related. I'm excited for the new year. We just finished our taxes, and it was an ordeal, right? Like trying to pull together all the stuff, and we were pretty organized. But this year, we're doing GoDaddy, right? So, we had mileage last time, so that was nice. But like, we're gonna try and do more. So I'm excited about like starting the year right. Like we're already a month into January, but I feel like it's not too late to like really refine things and kind of get to a place where it's like, if you've made mistakes that you're like wanting to correct them now, right? Like that's my advice. Yeah. So I'm excited to like get things set up, because I know it's always rough at first, like try new things into like, okay, now we have to implement things into this spreadsheet instead of this spreadsheet, and doing things a little different. But like last year we learned from mistakes, right? So we did a lot of things really well. There are some areas we could make improvements on. And so I feel like every year is like a refining year. It's like same thing with teaching. First year with curriculum's tough. Second year is a little better. Third year, it's like, you're just smooth sailing, right? Because you're just fixing things. And I'm noticing the same thing with reselling. Like first year, like you make a lot of mistakes. The second year, like you can correct some of those things. Third year, you're starting to really get into a groove. So I'm just excited to see how the little implemented changes are going to affect our bottom line and affect the amount of time and energy we have to put into reselling.
Nice.
I know that's like a really big, broad thing, but like, because that's on my mind right now, that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm just excited about just doing eBay for 3 months.
Nice.
I shared this before, but and again, I will do Amazon if a store is liquidating, or if it's stuff I pick up along the way at a thrift store or a garage sale that I can send it to Amazon. I'll still send stuff in. I'll do the old school way where I have a big box, and once that box is full, I'll start thinking about sending stuff in. But I've never done this, and I've shared this before, but I've never spent 3 months of doing straight eBay as a full-time seller. I, part-time, I did a lot of eBay before I started doing FBA. But when I jumped to full-time, it was a lot of Amazon. So I want to flip it, see what happens. I'll keep you guys posted. If, I'm in a really bad place, I guess I'll let you know.
Don't ever do that again.
But I financially set myself up. So, even if things go bad, I'll still be okay. So I'm not too stressed about that. But, I want to make this happen, because the thing that I'm going to be missing with not doing Amazon is Amazon gave me a lot of capital.
Right.
And so now I'm not only going to be working to pay the bills, but I also need to make a lot of capital for my eBay sales. And so, I'm interested how that's going to work out. So we'll see. I mean, there are people out there that just do eBay and they kill it. And you know what I find is that a lot of the, I guess OG resellers or people that have been selling for a long time, like they've done the Amazon thing and they just go straight eBay, and that's all they do is eBay. They make cross posts, but for the most part, like they found that eBay was sustainable and helped a lot. And so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'll keep everyone posted. We'll see how things go.
I like it.
All right. With that being said, the clock has turned midnight, and before we, end up being able to continue being
turn into pumpkins,
being princes, we're gonna say, be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Ladies.